Hello and welcome to the Video Creator Show, where we talk the juicy details of how to succeed on YouTube. And what better way to do that than to talk directly to someone who has done it. Today, I'm speaking with Nick Nimmin, who runs a channel that shares his name. He has over 870,000 subscribers, and his channel revolves around sharing knowledge about how to succeed on YouTube. You might say he has some things in common with this podcast, so should be a good, fascinating conversation. Nick's been on YouTube since 2014. He's helped thousands of people bring themselves closer to their YouTube dreams. He also runs a website called Tuber Tools and another one called CreatorMix.com. Tuber Tools is more about video graphics, and CreatorMix is more of a free music resource. And as you know, the Video Creator Show is brought to you by none other than VidChops.com, an editing service that helps take the burden of editing off your back. Check out VidChops.com to see how you can save yourself tons of time and energy while taking your YouTube channel to the next level. Nick, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm stoked to be talking to you, especially, you're in the same vein as this podcast, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of interesting information, and I don't know, maybe our minds work similarly. So my first question is, you've been on YouTube since 2014. That is the exact year I joined YouTube.
Oh, nice.
So how have you seen YouTube change since then, and how have you kind of pivoted? I know that's a very broad question. But like, in what ways do you feel like your channel is run fundamentally differently now versus 2014?
That's a great question. First off, Grant, thanks for having me on. I'm super excited to, be here having this conversation with you. So when it comes to, the changes that have happened since, starting my channel, I think the biggest difference is the place that I'm trying to get traffic from, and the place that I recommend other people try to get traffic from once they, get their skill sets up to the point to where, they can really tap into the other features of YouTube. And what I mean by that is, like, when I first started my YouTube channel, and really for quite some time, pretty much every video that I published on my YouTube channel was search targeted. And, I was doing that for quite some time, and, that put me on the map and helped me get started. And actually making a video about YouTube search is what led me down the YouTube help road and, kind of brought me to where we are right now today. But when it came to YouTube search, like, that was, the holy land, so to speak, back in the day. And, every help video at the time was talking about the importance of optimizing your videos for search and, things like that. But nowadays, even though search is still super powerful, and don't get me wrong, I'm not dumping on YouTube search, but when it comes to like faster growth on YouTube, the majority of traffic on the platform comes from YouTube's recommendation features. And what that is, in case somebody listening to this is new, is that means that it's just different places on YouTube, like your homepage and the recommended videos next to other videos or under videos on a mobile device, where YouTube is recommending you content that their system thinks, well, I won't say thinks, but their system predicts that is a good candidate for you at that particular moment in time that you're watching. Since that is where most of the traffic is from on the platform, then now the real goal is, when I'm writing a title, like, what about this title is going to cause somebody to click on this? What about this topic is going to cause somebody to click on this? What about this thumbnail is going to cause somebody to click on this? And just learning how to really tap into the recommendation features, I would say, is the biggest difference these days. And the reason for that transition is because of speed. So, of course, if you have a video show up in YouTube search, that it'll still get recommended. However, if you're only optimizing for YouTube search and you're coming up with topics that are only appropriate for YouTube search, then you're creating kind of like a limit on yourself in terms of, the rate of growth. For example, if you and I were to publish a video today, Grant, and that video was, search targeted, and we, did show up over in YouTube search, even though we might get some recommendation traffic, if we didn't also add all the compelling stuff to it and all that to try to get that attention from a homepage, then in that particular case, it might take, days, months, several months in order to get that video to like a certain number of views. Whereas if somebody publishes a high performing piece of content, right now, and it's thoughtful enough in terms of their intention of the video topic, the thumbnail, and the actual video itself and the title, then in that particular case, what it does is it opens you up to the possibility of waking up the next morning and having, tens of thousands or, thousands or hundreds, depending on, where you're at in the process, or hundreds of thousands or millions, depending on the type of content that you make. And that type of traffic, especially once you start getting into like, thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of views in that short amount of time, in order for that to happen in YouTube search, then you have to hop on something that is extremely high trending. And even then, the immediate impact of your video might still take, quite some time to hit those numbers. Now, when it comes to YouTube search, though, the long game is still there. Like YouTube search is still an extremely consistent traffic source. So if you're making like videos for like affiliate promotion, things like that, of course, you want to make sure that you are thinking about YouTube search for some of those for, that long-term sustainability of that income coming in. But the fast growth comes from recommendation features. But if you are just starting, it's also important to know, which this sounds kind of contradictory, but it's also important to know that YouTube search is a great way to start because it's easier to get people to click. Plus, the people that are going to be clicking on your content are the people that are going to be looking for it. And because they're looking for it, they're going to be the most likely to enjoy it. And as those people start enjoying it, it's going to help YouTube systems better understand the right fit for your content, which will help them, or not them, but it'll help the system when it's recommending your content to others.
So what are some good ways to prioritize search for smaller channels? Because it feels like making a catchy title and using keywords is sort of universally what one should do in order to get their video to go viral, so to speak. But when it comes to hitting search versus recommended or browse features, what exactly is the difference from an SEO standpoint that somebody who's uploading their videos, perhaps for the first time, can utilize?
If we were to wrap this idea around a product, just for the example, then in that particular case, let's just say like this A10 mini sitting over here. So if I were to target YouTube search for a video for this A10 mini, it would start at the topic level. So basically the topic itself would be something that would be more primed for YouTube search, and it would be designed for the sake of maybe bringing attention to that as like a review or something like that. So it'd be like review of the A10 mini, right? Then in that particular case, it would be, 10 things you need to know about, the A10 mini or something along those lines for YouTube search, or just going after A10 mini review, A10 mini review bar, 3 things to know before you buy, right? That would be more of like a search-based title. Whereas if you're going for recommendations, then in that particular case, you might just have a picture of the A10 mini, or you might even be holding it and kind of pointing to it or something like that. And then in that particular case, it would say this live streaming device changed, or this device changed the way I live stream, or something along those lines. And the difference between those two is on the review version, of course, you started the topic for that, but on that particular version, what's happening is you are creating a piece of content that's more appropriate for YouTube search, and that when people are looking for reviews on that particular device, they're more likely to land on that particular video. It's more of a narrow reach with that video because 1, it's a review, 2, it's about that, specific product. So the reach on that video is lower, but if you make a good video there, that particular video, especially if you're trying to sell it as an affiliate, can bring a lot of income to you over time and a lot of attention to your channel overall. Now, when it comes to the recommendation side of that, on the one where it says, this device changed the way that I live stream, in that particular case, you've broadened your audience. So now people don't even have to know what an A10 mini is. People don't even have to be looking for that A10 mini. But instead, now it's this device changed the way that I live stream. So now if somebody sees that and then they see the title of that, then what's going to happen is the only qualifier for somebody to be interested in that particular piece of content would be that they need to be a live streamer, which basically broadens your audience up, much bigger. And the title itself doesn't even say anything about the A10 mini. It's more based around, again, grabbing that attention off of, recommendation features, which is this device changed the way that I live stream. So the way that you package your videos can make a really big difference on where they perform the best. And you can even go into your past content library and you can go into your YouTube analytics, go into your advanced analytics, go into your traffic sources for each of these videos, and you'll be able to see where you're getting all your traffic from, or majority of your traffic from. And then you can start going through your own content, regardless of what type of content that you make, and start figuring out, okay, these types of videos that I make, or when I package up my videos in this particular way, they tend to get more search traffic. Whereas when I do it in this way, or I talk about these topics, I tend to get more recommendation traffic. And by paying attention to those things and being intentional about where it is that you're trying to get traffic, it helps you make the right content in order to get the benefits from, whichever place you're trying to get your videos to show up. But with that said, you can also kind of make hybrids, and the hybrids is where, you would take that same idea, but instead of like the review video, you would make a video that would be something about, live streaming devices, or, something like that, to where it could still show up in YouTube search. And then you would add compelling elements to it, something that would be just a little bit more enticing from the homepage, kind of along the same vein of, these live streaming devices change, or these devices change the way that I live stream. And then that way, what you're doing is you're making it to where it could still show up in search, but it is just more compelling coming from home pages. So you kind of double dip in that particular scenario.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that was a fantastic answer. So to make a very detailed and wonderful answer short, it seems being specific with your title and really narrow with how you're marketing the video, that's good for search. And then keeping things a bit more broad, that tends to be better for recommended and sort of algorithm-driven an algorithm-driven way of organic marketing. Is that
exactly
fair to say?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep,
so
exactly.
all this is great advice, and clearly, I mean, you've been making videos on this since 2014. That all makes sense to me. So we've already got kind of a taste of your hard knowledge, so to speak. I'm curious about I guess the soft knowledge. So this to me is like the mindset, the thing that keeps you going on the inside. You've been posting videos consistently for a long time. I've heard you talk about on your channel kind of setting goals, especially with the recent new year. You've talked about, hey, people who thought about starting a YouTube channel last new year, if they had kept with it, by this time their channel would have blown up. But they stopped doing it, and here's some tips on how to not lose motivation. And there was things like setting goals, and not just goals, but having a real vision of why you're making videos. So you said something along the lines of your goal is to hit 1,000 subscribers. So basically, every time you release a video and it gains subscribers, even if you get negative comments that may kind of try to chip away at your motivation and your self-worth, if they're negative comments, then you know that what you did actually got you closer to your goal. So you have a clear vision of what you want, and that makes it easy to keep going and to be objective about whether this thing that you did was good or bad, in spite of external circumstances. I think things like that are a great goal. But maybe in your personal life, what are some things you do to keep consistent? Because it can be difficult. One thing I have tried to do, and it works pretty well, is starting every day with, I'll work for 20 minutes on my own video. And then the rest of the day, I'll do the things that make money right now. And that's my sort of solution, where I do a little bit of work every day or most days. And then eventually a lot of work gets done. So that's kind of one practical solution. But yeah, what do you have to say about keeping motivated, though motivation can be overrated, but keeping consistent? That's the key.
When it comes to staying consistent with anything, you have to work the process of doing it into your lifestyle like you are currently doing. So, how you are carving out that time every day, and you've made it a priority to say, you know what, no matter what else is happening in my day, I'm going to take this 20 minutes per day, and I'm going to dedicate that day to working on, my stuff and the things that are going to move me forward. And then once that's done, then I have to go and, do the other things. So when it comes to being consistent on YouTube, it's important to make sure that you're working the entire process of ideation of your content, planning your content, creating your content, editing your content, getting your content up on YouTube, optimizing it, the research side of things. It's important to make sure that you're working all of these things into your lifestyle. So the
Mm,
recommendation that I typically give for people that are, that are thinking like, how can I be consistent and continue, doing this even though I have a job or I have a family, is if you have a doctor's appointment, then in that particular case, you put it in your calendar and you say, okay, on this day, at this time, I have to be at the doctor. If that means that my buddies are like, hey, you want to, go meet up, do this, or hey, you want to come over and watch the game or whatever the thing is, then in that particular case, it's like, hey, I would love to, but I've got this doctor's appointment that I need to go to.
right.
The same exact thing applies when you start prioritizing yourself and what it is that you want. Is you start scheduling in the time to do those things that will help you achieve whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. So when it comes to YouTube, for example, if you're like, okay, in order to make videos, what are some core things that I need to do? Well, I got to come up with video ideas. I need to, research those video ideas. I need to come up with, what it is that I'm going to say in the video. I need to actually record and say those things in the video. I need to, schedule time to, edit the video out. I need to schedule some time for learning, right? So that I can get better at this stuff so that I'm not just, doing the same thing all the time. And I have to, make time to publish the video. I need to make time to interact with my community if those videos start doing well and I start getting comments, things like that. And then I have to rinse and repeat that process over and over again. So once you have that list of items down that you need to do, then what you should do is you should open up your calendar over the next 30 days. And if you say, I'm going to publish a video every other week, then work those things into your calendar over the course of the week so you can ensure that you get them done over the course of that 2 weeks. If you say, I'm going to publish a video every week, then figure out how to get it in there so you can have that time to do it every week. Now, when it comes to this, in some cases, you might need to sacrifice or change the type of content that you make. So what I mean by that is if you make content that is really complicated to make and it takes a really long time to make, but you don't have that amount of time, then you're working against yourself right out of the gate. So because of that, you should either simplify the way that you're doing it if possible, but if it's not possible, then in that case, you should try to find something else to do that you will be able to fit it into your schedule in some way. And
Right.
that thing right there is the hardest part for people because it's like, I want to have a channel about this, but it takes forever to make this content. So because of that, I'm going to go and do something else, or they have to start thinking again of, what type of channel that they could start to fill that need. I went through this process myself. When I first started the channel that people know me from now, I was just making videos about like how to come up with video ideas, how to stay focused when you're working in a coffee shop, how to name projects because, I was a freelancer at the time and I was also doing contract work for my, for my freelance company. And when all of that stuff was, happening, that was my life. So when I was making videos, it was just an expression of, the things that I was going through at that particular time. It wasn't until like quite some time after I started my YouTube channel that I ended up going and working on another channel. It was about 5 months after I started my main channel. I got the opportunity to work with somebody that knew what they were doing actually on YouTube.
Was that
And
because you had started your channel? Like, did they find you through your YouTube channel?
yeah, what happened was this person was crossing 100,000 subscribers on their YouTube channel. And they were a YouTube help channel, actually. And they were crossing 100,000 subscribers on their channel at the time. And they made a video. And they're like, hey, we're getting ready to have this, 100,000 subscriber celebration video. And if my content's ever done anything for you or helped you in any way, shoot me a quick video. And if it's any good, then we'll go ahead and, see if we can add it to the celebration video. So I was like, hey, this is great, awesome opportunity. So I, turned on my camera real quick and I made a video and, his content had helped me, better navigate YouTube. So I explained, that, and I explained, how some of the collaborations that he was doing was cool because I was watching some of those other channels as well. And I submitted this video and it was like 24, maybe 48 hours. He sent me a message. He's like, hey, we got to talk. So I was like, hey, this is interesting. So, in my mind, because, at the time I had 150 subscribers on my YouTube channel. So at that time I was like, holy cow, this like big YouTubers reaching out and like, wants to talk. So we ended up getting on a call and he's like, hey man, with your camera presence, like how you actually present the content, how everything looks, because, I invested in a nice camera because I wanted to, do it right when I started doing it. So I invested in a nice camera. I invested in a nice microphone. So everything, looked right. My edits were like, but like they were, good enough. But he was like, yeah, the way that you're putting everything together, I think that you have like, the thing that people respond to well on YouTube. And I would like to work with you on another project if you're open to that. So I was like, hey, yes, count me in. And
What do you think he noticed about you?
According to him, it was mostly like, the camera quality and all that stuff was good, but it was how I was presenting on camera, how I communicated was the main thing. In addition to that, at one time he mentioned, I had different glasses at the time, but he's like, the glasses, the beard, the way you communicate, and, just like the body language, like the whole thing. In his mind, from his experience, and in his case, he had worked with like Red Bull. He consults with YouTube, like on their own stuff. Like currently he's got like 27 gold play buttons or 28 gold play buttons
Oh my
himself.
God.
Yeah. So like, like he he's tuned in. Right. And in that particular case, he just mentioned that, in his eyes, through that group of, items that he, thought that I had, the YouTube thing or that thing that people respond to. And we started working on another channel. Started doing great right out of the gate because he knows, what he's doing. And on that particular channel, I was in that situation that I'm talking about where I'm recommending people to, find something else to do if the content takes too long. So that channel, it's still online right now. It's called All Our Questions. And it's got, I think, it's approaching 17,000 subscribers, I believe. But I haven't uploaded to it in like 7 years now. But on that particular channel, the whole theme of the channel was that I was answering the world's most asked questions, right? So because of that, what I had to do is I had to go and research the world's first asked questions first. Then I would say, okay, these are ones that I'm interested in making. So then I would go and I would have to do research on all of these different topics about things that I had no idea about, like, why is Mars red? Why is the sky blue? Those types of things. And because I didn't know any of that stuff, I didn't know any of, the technical aspects of that. So I would have to do the research, and then I would have to understand it enough in order to condense it down into a bite-sized video that I could share with other people to where they would be able to understand it. And then I would have to edit it and, all that stuff too. So at that particular time, I had my design business that I was doing. Plus I was like dabbling in internet marketing at the time. Plus I had that YouTube channel. And it just got to the point because everything was just taking so much time, primarily with that YouTube channel, that I came to a point and I was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. So then at that time, I had to do the thing that I'm recommending, others to do if they don't have that time, which is, okay, I'm going back to my other channel. Even though it sucked and I hated it because I felt like I, let him down. I was like, I'm going to go back to this other channel because that content's just easier to make. And at the time I wasn't doing YouTube help stuff. But I was like, it's just easier to make because it's stuff that I'm dealing with in my life. So I can just communicate, these ideas that I have. And I came back to my channel and I started making, the videos back over there. And it ended up working out because the amount of time it took me to make content on the channel that people know me for now, it didn't take, a tenth of the time that the other content has. So then it got to the point to where I'm like, hey, I can upload like multiple times. I can even spend some time live streaming. And because I made that choice, I was able to come over here. Now, to be honest, with his knowledge and his support on that other channel and, the way that we were pointing, or not pointing, but the way we were doing things and the direction that things were headed, that channel would probably be way bigger than my current channel now. But, in terms of with me having to manage my overwhelm, so to speak, and my time and just my, my well-being, I had to make that call to, come back and work on, the channel that people know me for now.
Which is smart because a lot of times I think people, they shoot for the stars, which believe me, as a creative kind of airy guy, shoot for the stars, please. But you do, as you mentioned, there are kind of practical things that are important for staying grounded. And for you, I mean, you have this design business and you're kind of running a lot of projects that are important to you, ones that make money. You have a personal life. And if you're shooting for the stars too much, so to speak, and you're kind of putting your eggs in a basket that takes a ton of time and energy that maybe you aren't ready for or that just doesn't feel right to you, sure, you could have had there's a parallel universe where you focused on that channel and now you have 5 million subscribers. But what else is going wrong in that parallel universe? Right. Is your personal life in shambles? Is your design business in shambles? And now you're like clutching to this YouTube channel. It's the only good thing you have going for you. These are kind of interesting existential questions that people should be aware of, where you can, put all of your eggs in the get famous and successful basket, but there are a lot of really important things in life that you may want to prioritize this, because actually in the long run, you may end up with a channel with 940,000 subscribers and still be on your way to growing like you are now. So yeah, just for anybody listening who's like, man, this guy really messed up. I think you made the right choice, because you've been doing it since 2014. Also, that's sustainable.
Well, and another thing too is in terms of how I feel about what it is that I do. Like, when I was working on that channel, it was cool. I enjoyed the community aspect of it, and I was learning so much because I was having to research all these topics. So I was just learning so much about all these wildly different things, and it was it was really fun. I was having a great time, actually making the content and all of that. But whatever potential that channel had, I believe that the impact that I'm making on others with the channel that I currently have, for me, that means more, right? Mm-hmm. So because of that, regardless of, what might have happened to that channel, which we never, we don't know. It could, be at 5 million, subscribers now, or 10 million, or it could be exactly where I'm at right now. I don't know. But I suspect that it would be, way bigger. But I just, with my current content, because of the feedback that I get, I think that I would feel way more fulfilled with the type of content that I make than making that, even though there's a whole bunch of other personal rewards that would come with that. I think that the purpose, I guess, is the way to put that. But I guess the purpose that I feel is way bigger now than I think that it could ever be on a channel like that, if that makes any sense.
It totally makes sense. So how would you articulate that purpose, that feeling on the inside where you just have this intuition that this is it? I am loving this. You said that people comment things. So are they saying things like, hey, man, I listened to your advice and my channel grew 3 times. It grew thrice in the last month, and I just feel so good about myself. I'm so happy. Are those the kind of comments? Are people those comments can really brighten one's day? So it makes sense how that type of channel where you're helping people grow would get, I guess, higher quality comments or deeper comments perhaps than, answering the world's most asked questions, which I get that does seem like it would have a broad appeal, but most of the comments would probably be like, funny video, cool video, thanks. And I think,
when it comes to the comment section, the comment section can sometimes be a dumpster fire, like on my current channel. And then other times, it's fantastic. But basically, with the feedback that I get, it's more... of course, I have the surface feedback, which is where I do my Saturday live stream, and then I have people come in and then they'll drop a super chat, and they'll be like, hey, thanks so much. I started listening to your advice, at this date or whatever. And, now my channel, just crossed 100,000 subscribers, or, we just crossed 500,000 subscribers, or whatever the thing is. So I'll get those. And then I'll also get emails to where, the emails will be, of course, more detailed in terms of talking about, the impact. And then I get the really awesome ones, which usually happens at video or video related conferences. So if I go to Vid Summit, for example, then what will happen is I'll end up, being around a bunch of other content creators, and there'll be people that, I'll end up having conversations with that'll be like, hey, so, I was trying to figure out YouTube and I couldn't get anything figured out. I started watching your videos and everything started making sense. And I started applying some of the, things that you talk about. And, at that point in time, my life was really difficult and I was having trouble taking care of my family and blah, blah, blah. And now they're thriving. They're making, a very nice income. They're able to travel with their family. They're able to pay for conferences and go to conferences. And their life has literally, they're a whole... It's they're in a completely different universe now, right, so to speak, compared to, previously. Now, with that said, they happen to run across my videos. If they're watching anybody else's videos, the same exact thing would have happened because they were the one doing the work. So I'm not taking credit for any of that. But in terms of them just saying that, it was mine and mine was, a part of that path, to me, that's just really impactful in terms of my motivation. I actually had the last Vid Summit, which is last September. I had a conversation with a guy and he was, saying similar things in terms of, the impact that it's had. And he said something that really resonated with me that kind of helps me on my consistency too. And he said that because you chose to make a video that day, YouTube recommended it to me and I watched it, and everything started making sense from that particular video because the way that I, explained something. And then he started applying that to his channel, and then, bam, now he's, another person in that situation to where he's going to, $1,000 a ticket, conferences, and, just a, thriving business from his YouTube channel. So like when it comes to like the feedback, it's those types of things for me personally that keep me going, because, like, I'll be honest with you, man, like when it comes to, making the type of content that I make, like it's, like talking about YouTube specifically and teaching people how to grow on YouTube. Like I've been doing that, consistently now. I've had my channel for 8 years, but I've been doing that consistently for probably 6, maybe 6.5. And during that time, like there's only so much that you can talk about. So because of that, I have to, repeat a lot of things. And the way that I'm creative with my content is trying to figure out new ways that I can explain things that maybe something wouldn't make sense if I explained it this way to one group of people. But then if I explain it this way, then that particular group of people would be able to resonate with it. So my creativity comes from trying to figure out different ways to explain the same ideas. But, that also can, kind of wear on you a little bit, because it's like how many videos can I make about getting views on YouTube, right? So, so I have that, in front of me. But then when I go to conferences and I hear those types of things, or I get that email, or I get that, that message in my live stream, it's like, okay, it's fine. Just make that video, right? Make that video again. Try to do it in a different way. Try to make it a little bit more fun. Try to make it a little bit more informational. Maybe go a little bit deeper this time, or maybe not as deep, this time. And, just do it again, because it's working, it's helping people. So just keep doing it. Even if you have those times where you're like, oh my God, another video about how to make views. What am I going to do? Can I just do something else? Right.
Well, that's the importance of interacting with your community. Like your Saturday live streams, they clearly serve more than just the purpose of kind of you've probably heard the advice and even said the advice of, in order to grow on YouTube, it is helpful to have a strong community. So you should live stream. And yes, that is true. But also for you and your own motivation, when you get those comments in your stream live, there's somebody sitting in front of a computer watching you, and they say something positive that is really moving. I know I used to live stream every day for several years for my channel Treesicle. And people would come into the video and be like, or they'd come into the stream and say, hey man, your philosophical perspective on Dragon Ball Z, like, I don't know, I felt like nothing mattered. And then I watched your video and now I feel like there is a reason to keep going. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. It feels really, really good. And I also wanted to touch on something you said that I think is really important. You mentioned, it was kind of an aside, but if somebody comes across your video, they feel inspired, they apply kind of the tips or the knowledge that you've taught them, and then they start growing. You mentioned that they could have watched somebody else and the same thing could have happened, and you were humble in saying you didn't take credit for their growth necessarily, because they did the work, which is great. However, as far as them coming across somebody else and the same thing would have happened, that is potentially true, of course, but the way that you make videos, the way your mind works, is always going to reach different people than the way somebody else's mind works. And you kind of touched on that as well, kind of your own creativity. But for anybody who feels like, I want to go into this one space, but there's already 3 people in it, and they have like 20,000 subscribers or 50,000 or 100,000, and I don't know, can I do it better? Like, what's the point? There's already people doing it. They're not doing it like you're going to do it, because the way that you think and the way that you see the world is different than the way they see the world. With every How to Grow on YouTube channel, your channel has a kind of level-headed, practical, like I like your perspective on things. And then I've seen channels in the same kind of genre where it's like, I don't know, some 24-year-old who's jacked up on pre-workout, and he's like, I wake up every day at 5 a.m. and you got to have that schedule, and you just grind. The Sigma male grind set. It's a lot, but there's some 19-year-old watching that, and he's like, this is it. This is the thing that gets me jacked. And that is a whole genre. That's the subgenre of how to grow on YouTube that works for people. But that guy is very different than you. You know, you have a way of explaining things that reaches people in a certain way. It kind of it moves somebody in a way that is different, and that is important to know for anybody who's like, somebody's already doing it. They're not already doing it. You don't quite get it.
On that note, like one of the things, like when you do come into a space and there's other people there, like, finding those things, that you can kind of like exploit to your advantage in terms of, how you do things differently, also is a really, big win. I know, I'll give you actually an example when I came in the space, and then I'll give you an example of something that's happened, two things actually that have happened recently with new channels that have come into the space. So when I first came in, everybody was doing this like really stiff, like, hey, I'm a YouTube coach, and the information they were giving was super helpful, but they would also leave like a lot of, openness and vagueness to the information because, really a lot of it was about like generating, consulting calls and, things like that. So because of that, when I came in, I was like, first, like I was just like, hey, how to overcome camera shyness, and then like, how to do that kind of stuff. But then when I started actually sharing like real information about how to grow a YouTube channel, like I was just sharing the information. Like it was like, this is what I'm doing, and this is, what's working. And then like once I did start working with clients, and I was like, hey, these are some things that we're finding out. This is what you need to do. You got to make sure you're focused on this. And I was giving like course style information. I mean, it wasn't course format because it's all scattered all over YouTube, and I had to be focused on audience retention and all that. But I mean, the information though was like, look at this, do this, pay attention to these things. Right. And I was given just like clear instructions on what to do. And in addition to that, I wasn't all stiff about it. So like I came at content creators like a content creator, right? Like I'm a creative talking to creatives. So because of that, maybe I would have these little like fun, like little insert, like, skits that I would do, or I'd have this little like moment of music, in the video, or I started designing my set in a way to where I had like, all these colors going on and things like that. And at the time, people in my space just weren't doing that. And then, that by itself, helped me communicate, or helped me, really stand out in the space, even my camera style. So at that point in time, and I'm actually going to start doing this a little bit here again this year, just for fun, because it's fun making videos that way, just from an energy perspective. But I also did this thing to where I was hopping all over the screen. So like I would start over on this side, and then I would take one step in, and then I would say what it was that I was going to say. And then I would, pause it, and then I would come over to the other side, do the same exact thing, step in, say what I was going to say. So like everything about my content helped separate me from the people that were already in the space. Mm-hmm. And then recently we had, I'm not sure if I'm sure you've ran across it actually, Ed from Film Booth. So he came in, and he's been on YouTube for a really long time. And he came in with a different approach with his new content, where he started putting together these like epic, like story pieces. And instead of doing it where I do it, where I just pretty much like sit here and I just explain to people, what you got to know, he was showing people through example while you're watching his content. So like he would be, telling the story while setting up this scene, while traveling back in time and having this like character thing that he was doing where he would travel back in time and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But he was making these like really interesting to watch stories, and he still does it. And like that, once he started talking about YouTube and started taking that approach, that's what helped him stand out. And then you have Nate from Channel Makers that hopped in. He's been doing, like YouTube related stuff for a long time, and internet marketing stuff for a long time. He's got other channels, before he started doing YouTube help channels that were successful, really, really smart, about YouTube and YouTube growth. So what he started doing is he started actually interacting with the community. So, where most of us, actually everyone else, I should say, where, we have, the information that we have, and then we share that information. Nate comes in and he is like, I want your information, and I'm going to start analyzing your stuff. So then what he would do is, he'll, set up these like Google Docs and these Dropbox folders where people can just like upload stuff and upload stats and all that stuff. and he was talking, and he still does this. He's talking to his community about what's happening with their channels. So, a lot of it isn't like, hey, this is from channel, this particular channel and this, but he's using their information as the content that he's, sharing with them, in addition to, all the other stuff that, that he learns about YouTube and that he applies himself. So, that's how he stands out. So when you are trying to figure out how to stand out on YouTube in any genre that you go into, like, you can stand out. You just have to put some heavy brainstorming into it and try to think, like, what can I do that nobody else is doing? Because you have the one path of what can I do that other people are doing that's better, that I can do better. But the problem with that is, by default, we think that what we do is better because we do it to our own personal tastes, right? So what is better to us in some cases, if we're making it, can be heavily biased. That's why I'm sure you get comments just like I do, where people are like, man, I made this video. It's way better, much better title, much better thumbnail than this other channel, but their video's getting like thousands or hundreds of thousands of views, and I got like 8 views on mine. And it's like, well, because theirs is actually better. Like, that's why, they're getting the activity and yours, and yours isn't. Mm-hmm. But when you are trying to, stand out, you do have that. Like, if you can clearly see without bias that your stuff is better and that you can do it in a better way, then by all means, that is one path. But different is the thing that's really going to help you stand out and really help you, make the biggest impact possible. Because when somebody's watching a certain genre of content and it's like, oh, this is just like the last one I watched. This is just like the last one I watched. This is like the last. Whoa, what is this? Right? Then right there, they're going to pay attention. They're going to subscribe to your channel. They're going to want to be involved with what it is that you're doing, just because it stands out and it's so different than what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, and it's really empowering on a personal level, I feel like, to really act on your personal tastes. And I think that can be confusing in the early stages, where you have a video with 8 views and you think it's great. It's the best video ever in your mind. The thumbnail is beautiful.
And it might be. It might just take time for, YouTube to show it to the right people. Like, it might be. Yeah, it just might not be there yet. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be. It also could be you have spent so much time looking at it and you're proud of it, which is a beautiful thing. But if you keep making videos, a year from now, there's a good chance you're going to watch that video and you're going to be like, wow, I can't believe I thought that this was amazing. And that's okay. That's still a good video. And even like when I look at my past videos, I can watch them, but I don't love watching them because I feel so much better now. I feel like I know way more, and that's an important part of growth. But I think the point here is sometimes we can convince ourselves that our content is better than it is, and that's actually a good thing overall because that is confidence. And also, somebody is going to watch your video and feel the same way that you feel about it as well. So it's that is important to keep in mind. I'm certainly not trying to talk down on somebody who has 8 views, because that's where we all start.
Sure.
But yeah, you're going to get better by just kind of making things according to your taste. And it's also really empowering too. This is my spin on things. I am differentiating myself. I am not a stiff YouTube coach. I am me. And when you do that, I would argue like you're going to start growing on YouTube, but also as a person, and your self-expression is going to get better. You might even find you're a bit more charismatic in normal kind of everyday conversations. I certainly found that that was the case with YouTube. Kind of the more videos I made, the more things I said on camera, the less kind of socially anxious I was. I tend to be kind of introverted, but I feel like YouTube has been fantastic for kind of getting comfortable in social interactions, things like that. And all this is to say, yeah, get started and make things according to your taste. It's awesome. It feels great, and people are going to appreciate you for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, yeah, and finding that way to stand out too. Like that's for your niche. That's kind of like, it doesn't matter what type of content you make. If you're doing, food content, if you're doing gaming content, if you're doing content where you teach people things, if you're doing entertainment content, like any of it, as soon as you find that way to stand out, then, it might take a little bit for everybody else to catch on. But once they do, then like that's your, that's going to be your on-ramp, so to speak.
Totally. So now I'd like to ask, so you've had this design business. Are you still involved with that? Are you still
Oh, no.
kind of
Yeah. So basically my process went hopping onto YouTube, because a lot of people at the time, because I was dabbling in internet marketing, and a lot of people at the time were saying how effective YouTube was for getting email addresses. So when I first came on, I was like, okay, let's make some videos, try to get some email addresses. Didn't even know what I was going to like bring attention to. I had no idea what I was doing on YouTube, except from, other videos that I'd watched and so on. And then from there, I got the opportunity to work on that other channel. And then when I came back to the channel, my main channel now, one of the things that I knew was that I was hooked on YouTube. I was going to keep doing it. I just had to make sure that I could monetize it quickly so I could go all in. So what I did is I said, okay, what could I make that I could bring attention to through these videos that might help me speed up this process, because AdSense right now isn't cutting it. So I built my website that you mentioned at the beginning of the show, Tuber Tools. And at that time, I actually offered services off of it, as well as the store where you can download graphics. So basically what I did is when I came back and I started making videos, I started letting people know about that particular website, and through networking on Facebook and, Google Plus at the time, things like that. I was letting people know, about that particular website. And before you know it, after a handful of people found it, I started getting word of mouth and all that. And before you know it, instead of doing design stuff for, just the general population, now I'm immersed with YouTubers, and all of the design work that I was doing was like channel arts, end screens, lower thirds, video graphics, that kind of stuff for like branding packages, what I called them, for content creators. So then that got me one step closer to being like, all in on YouTube. But with that, what I did is I took the time that I was spending designing elsewhere, and I, was putting it on the website, right, through the services I was offering there. So I was doing the same thing, just for different people, but it got me closer. And then from there, I was like, okay, well, what can I do to stop doing this to where I can, make more content, to where I can spend that time making more videos. So then I added a membership side to my Tuber Tools website. And on the membership side, the win with that is because it's recurring, which means that people go in, and as long as they're getting updates every month, they'll stay subscribed to it. So then that quickly ballooned and allowed me the opportunity to, over the course of just a few months from coming back over to my main channel, to be able to go completely full time in terms of, YouTube and what I was doing around YouTube, and step away from the design work that I was offering there. So then it got me into that sweet spot of pretty much my life is passive now outside of making these videos, which is a pretty incredible place to be. And then from there, it just came down to, figuring out exactly, what I was going to offer, and, things like that from there. That's where people started, because once I started being able to go all in, that's when things really started ramping up on my main channel. Because you got time. You got time to analyze. You got time to put videos together the right way. You got time to, if you mess it up, you just make a new one, right? You got time to do all that stuff. So because of that, when I was able to just go all in like that, right after that's when things really started, lifting, the right way. And then people started, asking me about consulting and stuff. And then I did that for, quite some time. I haven't done it in the past, I would say, year and a half paid. I've done free stuff, just kind of helping people out. But I haven't done it like on the paid side for probably like a year and a half now. But basically what had happened there is I ended up getting so busy on the consulting side. And because of that, then I ended up in a similar situation where I'm like, man, I'm just like wasting up all my time. Right. So basically what I ended up doing there is I started, once I started noticing that was happening before I got fully, into that, then I started going harder on the affiliate side of things and my own personal product side of things and all of that. And then by doing that, that got me to the point to where like now I can just consult people for free as like a hookup, just trying to help people out instead of actually charging, people for it. And then I make all of my money through like sponsorships and through, my own products and through affiliate marketing and all of that stuff. So pretty much from the time that I wake up now, because of that particular path, I can, like I'll schedule, like these types of things, and I have, other, meetings that I'll schedule because I do some consulting for like software and stuff like that for, YouTube related tools. But like outside of like scheduled meetings, like the day is pretty much, free to do whatever it is that I want. So then from there, I just got to keep my schedule together and make sure that I do the things I need to do to keep everything, moving forward.
Man, that is beautiful. I feel like that's why people want to get into YouTube. Ultimately, it usually comes down to freedom and money and maybe some level of fame, some attention. Feels good to know that your face is and voice is getting heard and seen.
Yeah.
But that idea of a day where there's kind of not a ton of maintenance that needs to get done. You have a lot of flexibility in your days on average, whereas I think a lot of people, that is not their day. They have, they're super busy and they feel like they've never quite done enough. And that is a difficult place to be day in and day out. And I think one thing that's nice about going on this journey is you can really kind of roll with it and learn a lot. So like you said, you had this design business, and then you have this YouTube channel, and then you realize, oh, I could design for YouTubers. And now by working for other people, you end up learning even more about YouTube, which by the way is what I'm doing right now. All of my clients basically are YouTubers, and I have learned so much. I'm a better video editor. I know more about all aspects of YouTube, whether it's graphic design or SEO. There's just something about working for other people where they're going to ask you to do things that you never would do on your own. And that can be really powerful. It's something where, you're already knowledgeable on something, but then other people can kind of help take you to the next level and guide you in ways that you never maybe thought that you could. Like I feel like I've gotten much faster at video editing now, editing for other people, because I, ended up having to use multicam with Premiere Pro, having to use multiple camera angles. Now I know how to use multiple camera angles efficiently. That's just one example where this is really useful. So yeah, going all in, as you said, can be huge. You kind of accumulate knowledge, and you can be, I guess, kind of in the moment on your path towards doing this for a living. And yeah, consulting and creating for your own channel, they can really mesh well together. That's one thing I kind of wish I did more of with Treesicle. So I've, my video game channel, Treesicle. It did quite well over the years. It was my full-time job for probably 6 years, but that was kind of all I did. I didn't really have anything going on the side. It was my sort of singular obsession. And I think if I had branched out a little bit, I was in my kind of early mid-20s running it, so what are you gonna do? I'm just doing my best as a young butt and trying to figure life out at the same time. But if I had kind of had that consulting backbone and another way to make money and learn from other people instead of this sort of I loved the people I work with. I actually still live with one of them as we speak. But we were kind of hanging out with the same people every day. We weren't making connections. We weren't learning from others, unless we would go to a convention or something, which was great. But that was like once a year, maybe twice a year. So I think that having that consulting background or doing that on the side can really be huge for your own channel in a sort of indirect and ultimately direct way.
Yeah, absolutely it can. Like the thing is, like, if you're somebody that wants to go full time on YouTube and you want to, do this for a living, first off, understand that it can be lonely. So like you're saying, like you live with another creator, so that's awesome. But for a lot of content creators, it definitely can be lonely. But when it comes to the money side, though, there's so many ways that you can generate an income from what it is that you're doing on YouTube, and a lot of people will not implement any monetization strategy to what it is that they're doing. Mm-hmm. And they'll create this huge archive of content, 100 videos, 500 videos, 1,000 videos. and they don't have anything outside of AdSense attached to those videos in terms of a way that they can earn an income.
Been there.
And on the opposite side of that, they're like, oh, I'd love to go full-time on YouTube, right? So it's important to make sure that, wherever it is that you are in the process, even if you've never uploaded a video before, but you plan to start a YouTube channel and you're listening to this, like, start thinking about now, like, okay, with the type of content I'm getting into, how hard is it to monetize? Let me start looking around at other channels who make similar content and look in their video descriptions, because that's where you find all the ways that content creators make money. Just look in their descriptions, because that's where everything's at. But you go and start looking in, the video descriptions of other channels and start looking for the things that they promote. Look at the sponsors they have. Look at the things that they bring attention to as an affiliate. Look at the products that they create. Look at the crowdfunding, elements that they have in place. Like, look at all the other ways that they are making content, and then start figuring out, okay, if I'm going to go full-time in this, yes, I'm going to do something that I enjoy, but out of all the things, because, we're all human, we all have all these different things that we enjoy. So think of it through the lens of, okay, if I've got 5 different things that I would love to make videos about, then let me at least, if my goal is to become a full-time content creator and actually create content for a living, then what I need to do is I need to lay those 5 things out, and I need to do the research to figure out which one of these things is going to help me monetize in the fastest way possible, in addition to AdSense, and then deploy that. And from your very first video, have something in your video description where somebody can buy something, or they can get on your email list, so you can bring attention to things later as you put together a newsletter or something like that. And then you start, adding value through that newsletter, but then, bringing attention to things that are either your own products or affiliate products or sponsors or whatever. But the idea is, from your very first video, you want to have something in there, in your description, and of course a mention in your video that you have something in your description, so that you can start making some money from that very first video. And the cool thing that happens when you do this is you might get, 10 videos down the road, or 50 videos down the road, or 15 or 25 videos down the road. And you might notice, like, hey, wow, it seems like as my YouTube channel is starting to grow, that my income's growing right along with my YouTube channel. And then next thing you know, you've got 20,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel, and you're making like tons of money on your YouTube channel, because you have this army of content that's working for you on your behalf day and night to bring attention to all these different things that, ultimately end with them getting some type of value for the people that are, signing up for those things. And then you getting money in your bank account for, either creating those things and making them available for people, or bringing attention to those things through your content. And like, if you want to go full-time on YouTube, or not, I don't even like the words or to phrase it that way, full-time on YouTube, but I say it that way because that's how content creators think about it. But in reality, like, what you're doing when you start a YouTube channel is you're starting a business. And with that business, with any business, you have to generate income from the business. So when you're putting out content and you are not thinking of how that video could generate at least something, like even having like if you're a gamer, you might think like, oh, what could I possibly do? Well, you have controllers that you use. If you are building your custom PCs, you've got all the different parts for that you can link in your description. Instead of linking the camera that you use, I mean, link that too if you're a gamer, but instead of linking, things that aren't important to the viewers that you're interacting with, start thinking, the people that are watching my videos, they're into games. So let me find anything that I can possibly think of that I use to play this game. If it's this new headset that I got, if it's, this controller that I have, or these little rubber things that I put on the tip of my controller pad so I can have the better grip, whatever, sign up for the Amazon affiliate program, put those links down there, and slowly mention them in your content, or passively mention them in your content, which means instead of making like a review video, which you'll get higher conversions on, but if you're not into that sort of thing, let's say you're playing the game, then all you have to do there is, if you have those like little rubber, thumb things on there, and they've made a difference for you, and you truly believe that, and you have a link to those down in your video description, and then you're just like, man, I love these, rubber things, they help me, be able to control my, whatever car character, player, whatever, like so much better, or they help me react faster, whatever the thing is. You guys got to try these out. I got a link to them down in my description. And then you just keep playing your game, keep doing whatever it is that you're doing. But what you just did in that moment is you gave yourself the opportunity to, one, hook other people up with this thing that's helping you out. And two, by doing that, you're giving yourself the opportunity to earn money.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely.
So then you imagine you end up having, 500 videos on your YouTube channel, and every single one of them, you are doing that, where you just have this really quick, non-intrusive, non-distracting, non-pushy message that you have this particular thing that's helped you in this way. Then what happens is you have 500 videos that are working for you on behalf, day and night, one viewer at a time, that's bringing attention to all these different things, and it will put you in a different place in your life. And it's not even complicated. Like, it's not complicated. It's not intrusive. There's nothing that's not ethical, about that approach. You're just hopping in right as the middle person, just bringing awareness to those things. So if you're somebody that wants to go full-time on YouTube, again, if you have one video in your channel, or if you have 100 videos in your channel and you haven't done this stuff yet, like, start doing it, because as your YouTube channel grows, your income will grow right along with it. And that will put you into that place that you want to be if you are somebody that's wanting to, earn a living off of this. Because, there's go full-time on YouTube, sure. But then there's also the reality of what's going on, which is you are earning income from this as a content creator, which means that it might not be YouTube. It could be YouTube. It could be TikTok. It could be TikTok, Instagram, Reels, Clapper, and YouTube, all of those things together, because you're a content creator and you're making your living that way. But when you deploy these things in your videos, it gives you that opportunity to actually do that every single day, instead of whatever it is that you're doing now that you're unhappy with enough that you're yearning to be a professional content creator.
Right. And the nice thing about affiliates is, as you said, it's passive. And sponsorships are great because you get a big paycheck up front, or at least a small one. But it's not passive. And it takes work to make a sponsorship too. And you have to release a whole nother video to put the sponsor on. And they argue they're not great for the watch time of a video, unless you're really good at doing them.
It depends how you work it in. So
it does. Yeah.
If you do the thing that I do, which is what you're talking about in terms of the thing that is not great for the video. Like, one thing that I do is when the video is going for a little bit, I'm the guy that has like the insert where it's like, hey, this video is brought to you by blah, blah, blah. And it does this and it does this. Links down in the description, right? But, the way to do it to where it's not as intrusive is just really quick in the beginning, mention that the video is sponsored by, because that's a terms of service thing that you need to do. And then, talk about it later in your video. Your conversions are going to go down because, of course, the drop off in your retention over time, like the amount of people that are going to see that message are going to be less. And sponsors will probably pay you less to put it at the end, but then your videos will perform better, which could help you out long term. So depending on where you are in the journey, then, you definitely want to be thinking about those things. Like, hey, I'm still in that growth phase where I'm trying to get on the map and really, kind of secure my place. So because of that, I need to make sure I'm putting these at the end right now, because every video that I put out, it's critical that they, perform well for me. In addition to that, there's also the idea of, it's called making the product the hero of the video. So basically that means, depending on the type of content you make, of course, some content supports this, others don't, is to where you pose this problem at the beginning of the video that you're having, and then you go through your vlog or whatever video it is that you're putting together, and then you end up running across this thing later, or you have this solution later that ends up helping you solve this problem that you had before, and therefore that product is the hero of the video. So in that case also, retention can be held well, but it's the direct ad inserts that will they annihilate audience retention. So in some cases, you'll be fortunate and people just skip it, right? But man, those can absolutely destroy a video, the performance of a video, like you mentioned.
Yeah, it's something to be careful with, and I certainly felt like I had to get sponsorships over the years, and I hadn't utilized affiliate links at all. It wasn't really until I started doing this podcast that I really learned how powerful they are, because I knew about them, but it almost seemed too good to be true. Like, okay, so you just put a link in your description and people buy things and you get 5 cents or something. I know it's more than that, but I guess sometimes it's not for a single purchase. However, people tell me, and as you're telling me now, it can be as much as half of the revenue of a channel, and you don't really have to do anything, or it's more of an upfront thing. So affiliates are really powerful, and that's something I'm going to utilize way more moving forward.
You absolutely should. So in my case, ad revenue is about 12% of what it is that I make for my YouTube channel. So when it comes to affiliate revenue and sponsorships. Those two carry most of the weight, but I actually do better on the affiliate side than I do with sponsorships.
Wow.
So like I crush in sponsorships, but I really crush on the affiliate side. So like when it comes to both of those, do you mind if I just give a couple just really fast tips on
please.
how to make money with both of those?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So on the sponsor side, never just do one sponsored video. Always make sure that you're doing sponsored sets of content. So you're going to have people reach out and they're going to try to do one video with you, and you're going to be excited about it if you're a new content creator because, hey, this is like my opportunity. And it's okay if you're just like, hey, I want to get my feet wet. Let me just do this thing so I can get it in motion. That's cool. But like try, if you can, to hop on a phone call. And I know this is extremely intimidating for people, but it'll be worth it if you just learn how to do this. So basically you hop on a call with the people that you are, wanting to work with, the people that initially, reach out. You can do this via email if you want, but you'll actually get better results if you do hop on a call, but you don't have to do the call. It's just, you'll get better results if you do. But basically when they reach out to you for a video, that means they're already interested in what it is that you're doing. They're interested in working with you. So they've already qualified themselves as somebody that wants to put their products in front of your audience. So that means that they see the value in you and what it is that you're doing, and they appreciate your brand, right? So because of that, what you want to do is you want to tell them, this is my price for one video, and you just make it ridiculous. And then if you do a series of videos with me, like 3 or 4 videos, then that brings the price down to here. And this is why. If I just do the one video, then that's all the wear and tear, all this interaction that we're doing back and forth, all that stuff takes time. But if we do this over the course of, 3 or 4 videos, then in that particular case, it's going to cut down on all of that stuff, and all the time is going to be better spent all the way around. But more importantly, how YouTube works is that the person that's going to just watch this one video, there's just going to be a really small segment of the people that really love interacting with my content. However, if we do 3 different videos or 4 different videos that all feature your product or service, there's going to be a much bigger percentage of my audience that's going to see that content, because not every viewer watches every video. So because of that, what I'm going to do is I have these different types of videos that I make on my YouTube channel that pull in these different audiences. So what I'll do is I'll have your ad in one of these videos, your ad in one of these videos, your ad in one of these videos, and your ad in one of these videos. And by doing this, I'm actually going to help your product penetrate my audience better. It's going to look better on both of our ends because my audience sees that I'm continually supporting your product, and it's going to bring value to you in terms of you, just getting the message out to as many people as possible. And it's one, or actually 3 less videos you have to go and try to find somebody else to make. And if you present it in that way, then you'll get almost everyone that will end up doing a series of videos for you. Now, if you want to level that up, then you can try to work out like 6-month or 1-year contracts, or a certain amount of videos over a course of the year. And by doing these things, basically, instead of doing 1 video or 3 videos in that case, then you would say, okay, we're going to do a video a month for the next 6 months, or we're going to do a video a month for the next, year. And by doing that, then what you're doing is you're removing yourself from the hamster wheel. You're locking them and yourself, so you can keep track on your inventory as a content creator, and you are basically securing the bag for that year. And that also helps you on the relationship with those companies, because then you get to do fun stuff. Like, for example, in this call right now, I don't know if you can see it. If you're listening, you can't. But I have this little band that I put right here for TechSmith, right? The reason that this is here is this wasn't like an upsell, right? I could upsell this, but this wasn't an upsell. The reason this is on here is because we've continued to work together over time. And because we've built that relationship, I will plug them anywhere I possibly can. So if it's like not, super inconvenient, I'll either mention them, or like in this case, I had this laying around. It came as part of their like merch thing just to help me, put some cables together. And I was like, hey, great fit for the microphone. Anybody that sees it, maybe some people will Google what it is and they'll go check out TechSmith and end up finding about Camtasia. So, those types of things, when you have those longer term relationships, it works out so much better for the companies, that are willing to do that, and for you as a content creator. So that's on the sponsorship side. But basically the idea there, just kind of wrap that one up before we go into the affiliate side, is you want to make sure that you are putting together a menu for your content. So it's like, okay, I'll do 1 video, but it's going to cost you just because of, all the stuff that's involved in that 1 video. But I've got these other things that I have available. And then you also want to make sure that you do mention podcasts and, those sorts of things if you do have those types of things available. I even do fun stuff in terms of just hooking people up to where like my premium sponsors, which are the ones that will do like very long-term contracts with me. I even have a little spot for them on my channel page. If they have a YouTube channel, so that when people go to my YouTube channel page, they'll see them there. And then some people will go over there and they'll discover their products that way. So like I do all these little, kind of nuanced things to also try to help bring attention to them just because we have, great relationships. And then on the affiliate side, if the type of content that you make, because I know a lot of different, types of content creators are going to be listening to this. If the type of content that you make has something available that you can promote that is recurring, meaning that people pay monthly for it, like a subscription, try to promote that if you can. And the reason, make review videos about it, do comparison videos like this versus this, like those types of things, because that is the fast track to making a lot of money really fast. Because what happens is, if you're only promoting Amazon, right, which is a great place to start, right? It's a great place to start because, everybody uses it. And if somebody goes there, even if they don't purchase the thing that you recommended or that you brought attention to, if they purchase anything in the next 24 hours, then you'll get a cut. But it's a very small cut. However, if you can find things within the type of content that you make that you can promote as an affiliate that are recurring, then what happens is you sell it once. And then as long as that thing keeps providing the value, people are going to keep paying for it. And if they keep paying for it, that means that every month that goes by, you essentially get a free commission from that person, right? So they buy it once and then they buy it every month, right? But you sell it once essentially and they buy it every month, which means that one affiliate sale, let's say it was $10, if they end up paying for it over the course of the next 10 months, then that click was actually worth $100 to you, right? But depending on what it is you're promoting, I mean, it can be substantially more. But I'm just doing that one for easy math. But if you can find things that you can promote as an affiliate that are recurring, then it really is the fast track to really getting consistent money, which is the hardest thing to do as a content creator, which is why I wanted to take a moment to talk about that. But if you do it on the sponsorship side with longer term contracts, right, build your brand, be family friendly, be brand friendly and family friendly. And that will brand friendly, family friendly, understand your audience and make niche content for that audience, then you're a perfect fit for the brands that are interacting or that are serving your audience as well. On the affiliate side, go for recurring as much as you possibly can. Only promote things that are relevant to your audience. I see tons of people, they're making like recipe videos and they're letting people know the cameras and like microphones they use in their description. What are you doing? Promote pots and pans, put knives down there, right? Like all the different cooking stuff you use, put that in your description. Don't put links to, like YouTube books, right? Don't put that stuff in your description. Put stuff that, people that are watching recipe videos care about. But on the affiliate side, that was the next thing I wanted to talk about, is in addition to the recurring side of things, also make sure that you're being really intentional. Like if you're trying to do this for a living, make sure that you're being very intentional about the content that you're making to bring attention to things. Like I mentioned before with the example of search targeted content versus recommendation content. The idea with that, if you want to amplify your affiliate earnings, is make some content that is literally designed to catch people in the buying process, right? So you have the qualifier of like, okay, if somebody's looking for a review on something, there's a good chance they're interested in that product in some way, and they're probably considering buying it. That's why they're researching it. So all you have to do is just jump right in the middle of that. And then for making that video, then, a lot of those people end up making the purchase through what it is that you've done. Like I've got one video, it doesn't even have that many views on it, but it was a review video on a music service. It made me $50,000. And that video was a video that I ended up just throwing together at that moment in time because it was like, hey, I need to make a video. I've got this great service. I like it because of these things. You know what? Let me make a video about this and just put it up as a review. And that one video made $50,000. So like when it comes to the potential of, affiliate things, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
What music service was that?
It was Epidemic Sound.
Oh,
but
wow.
you can do the same thing for like
I use that all the
Artlist.
time.
You can do it for Epidemic Sound. You can do it for Artlist. You can do it for all of them. But everybody should just be using Creator Mix because it's free.
Yes, they should. Yes, they should.
Good plug, right? Good plug right there.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, you got it down, man. Nick, you really get it. So I mean, I'm learning a ton, and I literally host a podcast on these things. So clearly, you know what you're talking about here. So we've already gone 15 minutes over an hour. This is unprecedented. I'd like to ask you one more question, and
Sure.
it's one of those I don't know, philosophical questions or something, and it is, what has been the most difficult part of kind of succeeding online and building your own business? Like what has been your biggest hurdle, and how did you deal with it?
I would say the biggest hurdle is the feeling like you have to do everything. So like you see TikTok, right? TikTok hits the scene. Everybody's like, oh, got to start making TikTok videos all the time now. And then you like add that, right? Before that, and still, Instagram's there, and it's like, oh, I also got to do Instagram. And, you start having these things that you feel obligated to do just because you do this professionally. But in reality, like, you don't have to do any of that stuff. But you carry it with you because like if you get any kind of success on any platform, you know what you're missing out on by not having it on the other ones, right? So I continually carry this monkey on my back of like, I need to do more. And because of that, it like, even though like I'm adding value to people, even though like I do, great for a living, even though I enjoy what it is that I do on YouTube, I still have this monkey on my back of like, I got to do more because I feel like I'm, like, oh, I'm not keeping up because I'm not, because I'm not, I'm on TikTok. Everybody go follow me there when you hear this, but I'm on TikTok and I'm doing it, but I'm just not, consistent like I am with YouTube. But for me, the hardest thing has been that, in terms of just feeling like I have to do all of these other things. But what I recommend people to do is, like we were talking about when we first started this conversation, Grant, is like, have goals. Because when you have goals, even though you might carry those, big monkeys on your back, the goals will help you actually carry that weight and help make sure that you stay focused on the things that are important to you, even though you might have all these other things that you can do and that are constantly vying for your attention. And in addition to that is just the constant feeling of like, okay, I got to check my phone. I need to check comments. I got to check Twitter. I got to check, I got to check all these places because I've got people reaching out. I've got people tagging me here, people leaving comments. And I never want people to feel like them reaching out, like their message isn't heard, or that, that I, didn't see it, or that, like I don't care or anything like that. So because of that, I've got this thing to where it's like, all right, we got to make sure all the comments are answered on the channel. So I'm answering comments. I have somebody that helps me with the comments so that we make sure that almost every comment that happens on the channel at least gets a heart. In addition to that, like I'm constantly in like Twitter all the time. I'm always in my like Instagram DMs and all that. But nowadays, what I do is I just schedule it down and I just have a queue. And I'm like, I'm going to do what I can with this time that I have for my own sake. And then like, I'll just keep kind of, inching through that. So sometimes it takes me quite some time. I'll send somebody a message a month later. Hey, sorry, it took me a while to get to this. And, but I do that for the sake of, my own well-being, right? Because you can't just do everything all the time. You can for a season. I've had those seasons and I'm probably going to have many more of them. But, doing that all the time forever, it's just not, it's just not good for your mental state.
Right. There's an infinite number of things that can be done, and you can, I think, apply that to any job. But with this in particular, it can be really insidious because you are working for yourself, and
you're wearing all the hats.
Yeah, you're wearing every single hat. You can have a tower of hats that just gives you a lot of neck pain, and you need to just let it go a little bit. If you're seeing results, then keep enjoying the results and moving forward. And sure, like make some improvements, but ultimately, don't just yell into the void and wish that you were always doing more. That can be very draining. And I think that's very healthy advice. And I totally relate to that problem. I remember growing tree school, you know, we were always like, we need to post more to Twitter. We need to post more to Twitter. And I guess did, but ultimately it was like we just focused on YouTube, and clearly that went well overall. So it just, you know, sometimes I think these thoughts are more like self-flagellation than they are actually useful, you know? So I think that's great advice, and I'm sounds like you're dealing with that struggle quite well. So Nick,
it looks like it, but really it's always on my back, man. Like, yeah, always on my back. Yeah.
Yeah, you got that monkey on your back. It's just always giving you a hug, weighing you down a little bit. But that, I think that's a normal human condition. You know, I certainly I feel that you're wearing it well. And I can relate to it too. I feel like every job, any way to make money, there's like a level of responsibility that we always carry, kind of no matter what. And you know, if you were doing something else, you'd have a different monkey on your back. And it's just, what monkey do you prefer? Seems like you do on some level prefer this monkey. And you know, maybe you'll be friends with him. Give him a name. I don't know.
Right. Start taking care of him. Yeah. Start feeding him a little bit.
Yeah. Give him some bananas, some peanuts. I don't know, whatever monkeys eat. Maybe he'll shrink over time. Yeah, get a little bit cuter. But yeah, thanks so much, Nick. Thank
you. Thank you, Grant. This has been fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I'm stoked, yeah, and I just I love kind of picking your brain, learning things, having this back and forth. Yeah, everybody, his channel is Nick Nimmin, and he knows what he's talking about clearly. I mean, we've been talking for an hour 20 minutes here, and yeah, just you want to remind people where they can find all your websites, your channel, anything else maybe that didn't get talked about.
Sure, yeah. If you just go to I need to do a better way to do this. I think it's nixcontent.com. Then that will take you to a link tree. Hold on. I'm seeing if it's
sure
Nick or Nix. Give me 1 second. But one of those two will lead you to a link tree that has, you know, pretty much everything on it. Or just go to nicknimmin.com. All roads will lead to Rome, you know, that way as well. Yeah, so it's Nix content. And that leads you to my tube spanner link in bio page, which as a content creator, everybody here should get that too, by the way. You can embed videos in there, add subscribe buttons, all that stuff to your link in bio page. But yeah, Nick's content, all roads will lead to Rome from there.
Mm-hmm. There you go, everybody. Check them out. You will not be disappointed. You will learn plenty. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.